Hey there, everybody. Your practice tip this week is about chord patterns. And for anybody who's taken a class with me, will know I talk about this all the time. This is one of the most helpful tricks for me when I am practicing and especially trying to learn how to play a song by ear. Chord patterns have to do with the repetition of certain chords in the verse of a song, the chorus of a song, sometimes just all throughout the song. There's one very specific pattern that repeats over and over again. And I find it really important to look for those patterns so that we can kind of get out of the nitty-gritty of looking chord to chord to chord to chord through the song and see the bigger picture and see that oftentimes we just kind of have these, I call them buckets, that we're kind of going back and forth between. Oftentimes there's a particular pattern for the verse and there's a pattern for the chorus, and you're just going back and forth between the two. Other times, there are even smaller patterns that you can see that build up the verse that can be a nice way to organize them for you. For example, our song of the week this week is Cotton Mill Girls, which is built on what I call a boomerang pattern. If you remember, you start on the A chord, you go to the D chord, back to A, out to E7, and I call it a boomerang pattern because we're always starting on the A chord, and no matter what chord we go out to, we're always coming back to it, like a boomerang being thrown out and coming back home. That's a really, it's just so nice when a song is just that one pattern throughout the entire thing. Enjoy that while it lasts, because that doesn't always happen. We've also had When the Saints Go Marching In, for example. Now that one's a little bit more complicated. There you've got the same pattern for each verse, but there are different patterns within it. If you remember, that's in the key of G, and we start off with that G chord. We have what I call a leading pattern, where you're holding on to that one chord through to the end of a particular phrase before you switch to D7 at the end of the line, right? That's the part that goes, "Oh, when the saints go marching in, oh, when the saints go marching in." That's half the verse right there, is just holding on to that G until you get to the end of that phrase, saints go marching in. Then there's a little circle that comes up. Oh, I want to be in that number. So those are 4 chords in a row you just have to remember. However, it's a very common pattern. The 1 chord to the 1/7 to the 4 to the minor 4. Just keep that in mind. That one comes up again in other songs. That can be a really helpful little 4 chord set to keep in mind. And then to end it, we've got what I call a little sandwich. G to D7 and back to G. So many songs end with this root chord, out to another chord, usually the 5 chord if that means anything to you, and back to the 1 chord, to that root. So you've got kind of 3 patterns within that one verse, but it repeats the same way over and over again. So that's a little bit of an example of how you might use chord patterns to just understand how a song is built and organized. And once you understand that, you can kind of relax a little bit, zoom out, and play it thinking about it in terms of these patterns, not an individual chord by chord basis. If you'd like, I've got some extra resources for you on our ukulele summer page, talking a little bit about these chord patterns and the ones that I just mentioned, along with a couple others. If this is something that's interesting to you, you want to dive a little deeper, I am about to release or have released, depends on when you get this video, a new online course called Ukulele by Ear that's built entirely on our understanding of chord patterns and how to use these patterns to play by ear without the page in front of us. So if you're interested in that, I'll include a link to that in the PDF for you about these chord patterns. And let me know how it goes. See what patterns you find. Come up with your own system of names. I totally made up the boomerang and the circle and the, whatever. You can come up with your own system, whatever works for you, whatever helps you organize it in your mind. That's the most important thing to remember is music is not just, there is method to the madness. It's actually very organized. And so the minute you can start to see, or the more you can see those patterns and how things are organized, the better you'll just feel. You'll feel a certain ownership of it, I think. So feel free to join me and go a little bit deeper with those extra resources, or just have some fun with it yourself and let me know how it goes. That is your practice tip of the week. Have a great time.